So sometimes you want to pass something else instead of the, maybe just the event. Could be anything, could be a value, a boolean, or whatever. So of course, we can do that. So right here, I just have an example, the onClick with a function or a method called change name. So whenever we click it, I want to change the name. But instead of just putting the name right here or get the name from data, I want to pass the argument from within the onClick right here from this directive. So how can we do that? Okay, so, this could be really, really simple. If we want to pass an argument, since this is just a function, we just open and close and we pass whatever we want to pass. So in this case, I'm going to say Steve. I'm going to just pass the argument Steve. So this change name, this function, is going to get this argument. So right here, I'm going to say new name. And right here, this dot name, of course, is going to be equal to whatever we are passing from new name. If I reload the application, click me, and we get Steve, right? Pretty obvious. So let me ask you something. What happens if you also want to get the event? How can you get it? Just give it a try. All right. So I'm going to show you. It's a little bit weird. Let's try the, the obvious way. I'm going to say, okay, I want to get the event. So maybe right here, the new name. So maybe the second one is going to be the event, or it could be the first one. So I'm going to say event, and I'm going to go to the console and try to print the event. So of course, if we get something, it's because this works. I'm going to reload the application. I'm going to go to the console, click me, and we get undefined. So, that's not the way to do it. And if I put it first, right here, and reload the application, and click me, we get just Steve. So we are just renaming this. So this doesn't work. Right, so this is not the way to do it. It's a little bit weird, but it's the way it works. And it kind of makes sense. Whenever we do change name, just like this, for example, behind the scenes, we don't see it, but the only argument available right here is the event. That's why we are able to catch it right here, if you remember the previous example. So the way to do it is to let the function know that we also want the event. So what we need to do is we need to use the $sign. In this case, Vue.js is going to know that the $sign, it's something related to Vue. And if we say event, it's going to know that we also want to get the event. So in this case, we are passing the first argument of the name, and the second one, it's the actual event. So now if I reload the application and we click me, we get the event. So that's the the way to do it. And if we check the docs, this calls inline statement, right? So, remember, if you're passing more than just the event, you need to put it right here. If not, of course, not going to work. So one more thing we can use with this are modifiers. Yeah, funny word. And everything, of course, is on the documentation. We have it right here. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you how to use this. Okay, so let me give you an example. Right now, we are just, we click on the click me, and we are just changing the name and getting the event and everything else. All right, so we are clicking by default with the left click. What happens if I want to do it with the right click? So we use a modifier. So, okay, so how to use modifiers? Modifiers, after we use we pass the event we want to use, we need to do a dot, and in this case, since this is a click, I can do right. And we're gonna get it with the right click and not with the left click. If I click on with the left, nothing happens. With the right, it works. You have the list of modifiers right here with the V on. You have different types of modifiers with different directives. All right, so let me I'm gonna go back to this. I want to give you a different example. Same idea but different example. I'm gonna comment this out because we don't need it at all. And I'm going to give you a form as an example. Let's say that you have a form, and whenever everything is complete, you want to submit the form. How are you going to catch that event, the submit form? Of course, with a directive. So we're going to create a form, real simple form, and this form will have an input, just an input, open and close, something simple. And then, of course, we need to add a button, and the button has a type of submit, of course, because we want to submit the form, and we say just submit. Very simple. All right. Now, if I do this, of course, the default behavior of a form is to reload the application. So let me remove this one right here. There we go. So I'm going to type something, I do submit, and the application reloads. So this is by default how, a form works. You submit, the application reloads. So, okay. So first, we're going to add the v on. So we can grab the submission of a form. So the name of this, of course, is submit. So whenever we submit a form, I want to go through a method or a function or something where we can, do something else, maybe an AJAX request or something like that. So I'm going to call this handle form. All right. All right. So of course, we need to add this to methods. So I'm going to do comma, open and close, handle form. And of course, I'm doing this. And if I do it, we are still reloading the page. So by default, we are not doing the prevent default. So how can we do it? If you remember, whenever we do submit form, whenever we do we use this directive, we get the actual event. So we can catch the event. We can say event dot prevent default. Oh, I made a mistake. Prevent default. And this, of course, will cancel that default event. I'm going to do the console log for the maybe submit form, so we can get something on the console at least. Console log submit form, sorry. All right, so I'm going to reload the application. I type something, submit, and the application is not reloading. All right, we are doing just that. Of course, this is something very common with JavaScript and with forms. And the point of this, why I'm showing you this, is because you can use a modifier to do prevent default, and there's no need to write this or to pass the event. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go right here to the submit, and I'm going to go to the documentation. So modifiers, we have the dot prevent, and this is going to call the prevent default every time we submit the form. Really, really smart. I go right here, going to reload the application, type something, I'm going to submit, and of course the application is not reloading and everything works. Really, really smart. All right, man. So really simple. I just wanted to show you this before we move on to the next one. We're going to make use of modifiers, much more in the future. And of course, you have it. Everything is on the documentation, right? So you can check the documentation if you want. Maybe check the different examples. And remember that we are not there yet. I'm going to show you in a couple minutes. This is a shorthand of v on. If you don't want to type the v on, you can use the shorthand, which is this at. But don't worry, we will discuss this in a couple minutes.